So the other day I bought a slip and slide for my kids, and I asked my nephew to set it up this morning. He comes back and points out the one I bought is freaking huge, and apparently it needs an air pump. Yeah, I bought one of those industrial strength slip and slides that has the bumpers on the side. Hey, my kids are rough with these things. They tore the last one up in like 3 days. In any case, he's telling me he doesn't have the tools to inflate this, and this gentleman is when my trailer park training came in. So using duct tape, we were able to connect these hoses all together, and for the 15 seconds we needed, we created a seal that ended up filling both sides of that slip and slide. And as you can see here, I celebrated by being the first one to go down the slip and slide without even taking off my running clothes. Now, gents, I share this with you because I try to be a good dad. I try to be a good man. Now, if you've watched my channel long enough, or even just a few videos, I think you start to pick up on that this channel is a lot more than just style. In fact, style for me actually isn't that important. I just view it as a vehicle to help you get what you want out of life. Now, the real goal of this channel is to help you become the man you know yourself to be. And I do this in many ways because I never had a man. I never had a father figure in my life that was showing me the things I felt I needed to be shown. Now, like a lot of you guys watching, my parents divorced. I was relatively young, about 5 at the time. But for 2 years, we moved around. We lived in El Centro, we lived over in Yuma, and we made our way east out to Midland, Texas. My father stayed out in California. I was living with my mom, my younger sister, and my baby brother. Now, for the next 8 years, my dad was pretty much my hero. We would go see him during the summer, and in my mind, he was friggin' awesome because he would take us to Dodger games, he'd take us to Disneyland, would buy us some toys and all these new clothes. Now, later on, I found out he wasn't paying child support, he didn't trust banks, that's why he always had all this cash. But in any case, the story unfortunately takes a turn for the worst when I was about 14. My dad had just remarried, and this would be the first summer we would meet our new stepmom. Well, that meeting did not go well. I don't think she minded me, but she hated my younger sister, who was 12 at the time. And for some reason, I still don't know to this day, she didn't like my little brother. So she told my dad, you got to make a choice. The kids or me. Well, our 2-month summer vacation turned into a 2-week summer vacation. He drove us all the way back from California to Texas. And then I didn't hear from my dad for 15 years. Now, when I was about 30, he started reaching back out to the family. You see, besides cutting it off with me and my younger siblings, my older siblings actually took our side and basically were calling this woman a witch. And so he had cut them off as well. But they lived in California, and it turns out that, they live in the same city. Eventually, once he separated from this other woman, apparently he wanted to connect again. But honestly, gents, it was never the same. We had already moved on. And it didn't seem to help matters that he had become impossibly inconsistent. And by that, I mean you're going to meet up for lunch, you agree on a place and a time, and he ends up showing an hour to an hour and a half late. Now, it's one thing to do it to me, but at this point, I'm bringing my wife with me. I've got my son. He's 3 years old. Now, I wish I could tell you that this has a happy ending, but to this day, I still do not have much of a relationship with my father. Which brings me to what I'd like to share today, and that is how I have dealt with having parents that really are not involved much. Because yes, my mom did not pick up the slack. She is a very distant parent as well. But that's for another video. And no, I'm not meaning to throw my parents under the bus. I just wanted to speak to you guys that have maybe gone through something similar or are dealing with it now and share with you what has worked for me. Because if just one thing I say in this video helps you to deal with your situation, it will have been worth it. And what about getting professional help? Do I think that's a good idea? Well, gents, you better believe it. In fact, I have talked with my therapist over at BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video, about this very issue. Now, gents, BetterHelp, in case you didn't know, is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. Gents, with BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists that can help you with a wide range of issues. Gents, just like you, I got a lot of stress in my life. I got 7 kids. I got 5 companies. I've got multiple Ukrainian women because we took in our in-laws. And yeah, a lot of stress, a lot of things going through the mind up here. And I can tell you, gents, talking with a professional helps. Now, the way it works, gents, is you go to their website and you're going to answer a few questions. Now, the reason for this is BetterHelp wants to be able to match you with the right therapist from their network. Now, once you're matched with your therapist, you can talk to them however you want. On top of that, you can message your therapist at any time, and you can schedule your appointments at your convenience. Oh, and if for some reason there's not a good fit between you and your therapist, guess what? You can switch at no cost. And you get the same quality as in-office therapy, but with a therapist that's custom picked for you, along with better scheduling, flexibility, and at an affordable price. So to get started, gents, go to betterhelp.com/realmenrealstyle. It's a great service. This link right here will make sure you get the best deal on the web. Awesome company. Go check them out. Let's break the stigma of men talking about their problems. That's why I love BetterHelp. It's convenient. It's effective. Check them out, guys. Awesome service. So looking back, I think the one thing that really saved me from having any issues with abandonment is I never blamed myself for this. And a big part of this is I had the support of my older sister, Lisa, because she called my dad out on this immediately, cut off contact, and was talking with us and saying, it wasn't our fault. And that always stuck with me. Maybe I was pretty mature for my age, but I could see that, hey, he was making the stupid choice here. This was his decision. And I do know if I had gone down that path about feeling it was my fault, it probably would have been a lot worse for me, a lot darker, because I have to say for my younger sister, this was something that she carried with her, and she felt, because I think, sorry, the witch, I'm not going to use names here, but she does have one. And looking back, that's the thing that really upsets me, is you had a grown woman putting the blame on a 12-year-old girl. And for the rest of her life, till she died of suicide at age 31, my sister had issues with, I think, men abandoning her, or the perception that they would, or that she was never good enough. And on a side note, with our local friends here, I have seen this repeat itself. And it just pisses me off when I see adults behaving like children. And again, with this one woman in particular, I told my wife, we are not going to be hanging out with her. She's not the kind of person I want to be around. But getting back to not blaming yourself, that's something I think a lot of guys need to ask themselves if they've got issues with this. And by the way, I know women watch this as well, so if you're a woman, sorry, normally I talk to guys, but understand it is not your fault. Your dad, your mom, whoever abandoned you, understand that it was their decision. It was their choice. You didn't do anything wrong, especially if you were a kid. And really quick, shout out to my older sister, Lisa. I know she watches these videos. I love you. Now, the next thing that really helped me was positive role models, specifically in athletics. I was that kid that idolized his coaches, specifically my football coaches, my track coaches. I remember them all by name. Coach Purser, Coach Knippa, Coach Falks, even our principal, Mr. File. These guys worked hard, they stood tall, they had confidence, and I was fortunate that they took me under their wing, even though I had very little athletic ability. And the lessons I learned from them about honor, courage, commitment, hard work. To this day, I still carry all of that with me. And so if you're out there and you are a coach, if you're a teacher, if you're a man mentoring young men, don't stop. You are making a difference. And by the way, if that describes you, reach out to me and I'll get you one of our RMRS challenge coins at no cost. I also found refuge in books, especially the classics and especially books with quotes. I just love these inspirational quotes. In fact, this book right here, Timeless Wisdom, I actually reached out to the author and got on the phone with him. And I share with him my journey, what I'm up to nowadays, and how he was pivotal in my life and helping point me in the right direction. So the quick lesson there is to have gratitude. Don't be afraid to reach out to people that inspire you. And even if you don't have any great mentors in your vicinity, simply find some of the classic books, because right there you can speak with the dead. You can speak with these guys that have imparted so much wisdom and have gone through things similar, if not worse, to what you're going through right now. I also do this weird exercise about negative examples. So I think about things like just both of my parents smoked. And they say if your parents smoke, you are more likely to smoke. Well, I know for me, I just looked at it as, wow, look what that's doing for them. Look how much money they're wasting. I am never going to be like that. Same thing with the way they handled money. My dad was afraid to put money in banks. He didn't trust them. So I did a lot of research. I studied banks. I chose the ones which I feel are the safest, and I feel pretty good about that. When it comes to being active, showing up, my dad never showed up to a single high school event, sport, anything like that. So you know what? For my kids, I am at every single performance. My daughters, they perform the Nutcracker. There are 3 performances. The tickets are, most parents, they don't go to every one. I go to every single one because there are little differences in each performance. And you're not supposed to be in the audience watching the dress rehearsals. I sneak in there and I watch them anyway. Yes, I am that dad. And yes, I'm neglecting my business a bit. And if I'm going to overdo it, I would rather be present for my kids, for the people around me that matter. Now, this next one is probably one of the hardest ones to do, but I did it a long time ago and I didn't really think much of it, but I forgave my dad. And probably, I think the moment was, I was at my grandmother's place and I'm going through, she has this garage that is just filled with, she's a hoarder and it's kind of scary, but I ended up in there, was cleaning it up a bit, and I found one of my dad's awards from Vietnam. Now, as a former adjutant with 3rd Battalion 1st Marines, I knew exactly what this was as soon as I saw it. That's the Bronze Star. And I went on to read how he picked up a Bronze Star as an E3 in Vietnam, and it was freaking crazy. My dad had been dropped off with a unit. He was a radio repairman. They were overrun, and there was a lot of it was really just nasty stuff. The award makes it all sound glorious, but the reality is, whenever you win awards like this, you've usually gone through something you would rather not have. He had a tougher life than me. Who am I to judge him? And in that situation that he did, would I have made a similar choice? People make bad decisions all the time. I've made a lot of bad decisions. And who am I to judge him. I mean, what do they say? God doesn't even judge you till your life is done. So I'm going to reserve judgment. And I'm just going to focus in on what I can control. Kind of like the serenity prayer, right? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So with that being said, the things I can change, I set boundaries with him. The reality is I know he's probably not going to change. So whenever I engage with him, it's pretty much just me and him or with other adults. I don't have high expectations. And in fact, when I'm engaging with him, it's maybe a little bit more selfish. Recently, we talked on the phone and I was curious about his medical history because I have high cholesterol. Yes, he has high cholesterol. It's a hereditary thing. So, knowing this stuff is actually very useful. But yeah, do I expect him to drive across country, spend time with me and my family, tell me he did all these things wrong? No, I don't. And that's just not going to happen. And I've accepted that. So by setting these boundaries, setting these expectations, I protect myself and those I care about. So gents, I know a lot of you guys have gone through something similar. If you've got anything to add, I would love to hear from you down in the comments. And continue. I got another video for you right here. If you like my raw videos, you're going to love this one. I get a little bit emotional in this one, but it's one of the better videos I put out in the last few years. Yeah, check it out right here. The raw reality of being a man.